All right, good evening. Some of you are on the downhill slide for sure. I have my first grades back from the CAP, and the first two are fours. So we want fours. All right, but we'll take 3.75s. I'll even at this point take a 3.0, but I really want a 4. Okay, so tonight, it says on our schedule that we are going to start looking at the School Improvement Action Plan. And I sent you, and I'm just really sorry we only have 4 people, because we really need to look at this carefully, because this is pulling everything you've done together. And it's not just, you know, load 1, load 2, load 3. It's not that, but you've got everything you need to sew it together and do the School Improvement Action Plan. And I sent you an overview, and the overview looks very simple. And you probably wondered, why in the world would someone send me something that looks that simple? But I want you to get a big picture. Think about each of these activities that you've done, each of the evidences that you've worked on. They've been a series of tasks related to one big thing one big piece of this puzzle. And the School Improvement Action Plan is the culmination of that puzzle. And if you just go in, if in his little helping outline, he says do, you know, the CAP 1 through 4. If you don't CAP 1 through 4 and then do whatever he has next, you're going to get the paper back. So you really need to try to understand the project before you start actually doing it. The project isn't hard, but it's big. Think about the School Improvement Plan in your school. This project is having you develop basically a new School Improvement Plan for your school. Now, hopefully it crosses with a lot that's already in there. You know, we're not going to dump and completely replace, but that's the process. This whole program is about you understanding continuous improvement and the processes of a needs assessment, a data-driven school that you can step in. And when people say we're having trouble here, you know a process that's going to lead your school to figure out what the real problem is. And it's probably not that the students aren't trying hard enough. You know, there's probably something else going on. It's easy to say the parents aren't supportive and the students aren't the best ones the parents have. They're keeping those at home. That is not the case. The case is we can only change what we have control of. And we have control of the school from bus arrival to bus departure. And so that's what we have to get our arms around. So when you look at that little document that I sent you that looks so easy, I want you to think about this in the context of another one of those projects, those evidences that you're gathering that demonstrate that you can handle the process, because the process is the most important thing. Not that you have 3 of those and 5 of this and 6 of those and that everything, you know, it's not that. It's the process. Okay, so the first thing in task 1, if you look at that, I should have asked you to pull up that template that you have for the School Improvement Action Plan. And if you have it there with you, that would probably be good. But the background information and description of the setting. You're going to have that. Then you're going to talk about, you're going to do a school data project. And remember the student learning piece that you did at the very beginning? Okay, that's the big student data piece that's part of task 1. Not just looking at the overview data, but the disaggregated data also. And then task 2 is all that work you did with the teacher working conditions survey. Okay? Task 3 is going to be your focus group projects. So I want to say, and I probably should turn the recorder off before I say this, but if you chose to do individual interviews on some of these projects because you couldn't buttonhole enough people, I'm saying, read my lips, those interviews use them as focus group data. You cannot go back and redo it. And I'm not saying this to be mean, I'm just saying, if you started out this program thinking that when you got finished with A, you were going to go to B and never see A again, and you did a minimum performance because you thought that's the way it was going to be, and you didn't do a focus group when that was suggested, and you did interviews because it was easier, then, you know, there's nothing you can do to go back and do that correctly or to do it better. But use the data you have to complete this project. That's the whole thing. Pulling what you have done in the past, and there's not much you can change. If you have something in the CAP that you realize when we get into these that you need to do more with, you maybe can do something about that. But you can't go back to the first semester things, you know. So I just say that, and I'm not going to say it again, but, you know, focus group equals group in a lot of interviews, not one interview. No, I'm not saying that. But if you did multiple interviews instead of a focus group, then use that data as the data for the focus group. Okay, all right. Because we do want you to know how to do a focus group. That's part of what you need to know how to do. Okay. Task 4 is going to be resource allocations, and you did a lot of that. And those of you that were with Dr. Todd, she was really insistent that you get down and dirty with that and that you figure out how much it costs. And when you start working on this, you're going to be so glad because you're going to have something to put down. If you just refuse to do that because it didn't say so in the rubric and you put it through and they gave you a good score, that's fine. But now you need to put what does it cost, because there's a column on that. You know, you've got to do your resources, and you need human and physical resources. So however much you did in the past may help you as you go forward. You may have to go back and do a little more if you didn't really, you know, fulfill the rubric all the way, because we're looking at it again now. Okay, so task 5 is actually the graphic organizer. Now, just like some of you have on occasion said, here's the graphic organizer. There was no narrative, and, you know, we had to say, okay, you have to talk about this in a narrative, and then you do the organizer. So we do have to have some discussion about what the evaluator is expecting to see in the organizer. So make sure, as in all the other projects, see, this is just one more project, it's just that it's bigger. So in this project, you are going to have a narrative with the graphic organizer. Okay. You also need to do a presentation of that to your administration. And it says administration because, you know, your principal may be gone and it may be the assistant superintendent, I mean, the assistant principal or someone, you know, that you can give this information to. Someone in administration needs to view it and they need to give you feedback. So notice it says presentation to administration for feedback. So the evaluator will be looking for what feedback did you get, okay? Now, the last thing is your good old reflection with all those competencies, and you'll go through all of the competencies and look at how you have developed those competencies over the program. And hopefully that will be a great review for your interviews, because that tells what you have done and it cements it in your mind. So having written that paper should be a good thing for you to pull up and read before you go into an interview, just to remember all the wonderful things that you have done, because some of you have just done mountains. And the more you've done, the more you've learned, and you've learned it in your environment. If you were in a different environment, you may have done it a different way, because we have so many different contexts within to do this task. Okay, so that's the big picture of it. So tonight, what we're going to do is I have it in front of me and I'm going to go through it and we're going to talk about this almost word for word. And hopefully this will be helpful. If next time after going through 1 and 2, I don't get any more takers, maybe I just need to do a video and go through the whole thing and let you just, you know, do it on your own. I did have somebody tell me today that they were under the impression when they were in semester 1 that they would never have any more Zoom conference times with their teachers, but that's really not the way it is. So anyway, let's get started. It says that the SIAP will be the cohesive plan that includes the following series of projects: the school data image project, the school disaggregation project. Remember, those are both in the student learning piece. You gathered the data, but then the second prompt, I think, told you to disaggregate into subgroups. And so I've tried to get, as we do different things along the way, I've tried to get you to look at that disaggregated piece, because that's something that's really good here. You need to be able to talk about how you disaggregated the data, especially in the student learning piece. Okay, the second thing it says is resource allocation project. And I will say, just like the CAP, there was a typo. The resource allocation project is actually number 2, but number 3 is actually left out. It's the focus group project, and it's in all of the rubrics. It's actually in this document that you have on your Blackboard. It's in there. What to do with it is in there. It's just not in the overview. So don't make your headings from this list. Make them from the tasks that you actually have assigned, okay? Then task 4 is going to be that the graphic organizer. 5 is where you put it together, and 6 is the reflection. Now, for task 1, and this is what it says, the description. And a footnote is, when you look at this overview, you're going to find that the description is often the same thing as the prompt. So that's, if you'll cut one of the, if you, not the prompt, but if you'll cut the description out, that'll lower your Turnitin score. So just as a side there. So it says, the description. Throughout the program, candidates have been collecting and analyzing data concerning various aspects of the school community. This project requires the candidates working with a team of professionals. Now, I don't want you to panic when it says working with a team of professionals, because all of this work that you've done all along, you have done none of it in isolation. All of this work has been done in coordination with your other professionals. So it is not a problem, okay? That is not a problem. You can say we, you can say our group, you can say the PLC, the leadership team, whatever. Whoever helped you with these various pieces, you can refer to them, and that's not a problem, okay? Because you did it. All right. So working with a team of professionals prepares key and specific academic data for the action plan, and that action plan is the SIAP at the end, remember, okay, to be presented to the school improvement team, the culmination of the MELS clinical experience. Understanding this, candidates are expected to demonstrate a high level of proficiency, expertise, leadership, and a use of digital tools in the process of presenting the content, satisfying the conditions of the prompt. And all that says is, we do expect an excellent job. This is the last chance you have to produce a beautiful document that you can put on the shelf and say, this represents, 3 hard semesters, and I did it, and I'm proud of it. I want you to be proud of it, and that's important. It's important to me that you're proud of it. Anyway, so the next section says instructions, and those instructions are exactly the same as what I didn't read on the front. It says you are going to analyze school data that will help the team formulate a clear image of the school's academic accomplishments and opportunities for growth. Where did you do that?
The APSL.
You did where?
APSL.
Yes, in the APSL. Okay, so your focus now. That's what we're talking about. A list of areas to be considered include, but are not limited to, attendance, discipline, standardized test results, benchmark results, and any other data. Does that sound familiar? That's straight out of the student learning piece, right? Okay. The format of the candidate's school image data is left to your own innovation, creativity, and discretion. And if you'll remember, if you were with me in semester 1, I said, be creative somewhere else. Use the format of your school improvement plan. And some of you didn't do that, but it'll happen now. And I think maybe some people went back and actually did put it in the plan because they decided that it really was going to need to be in the same format. So that data image, creativity, I know you're creative. And it wasn't, I didn't want you to be creative. I just wanted you to have the easiest way to get this done. Candidates will disaggregate the data. Okay, there it is. You have to disaggregate the data. And you did that, right? Everybody did that in the student learning piece. And it says, there's a little note that says, make sure you utilize the EVOS or other data analysis tools that measure academic progress. So some people chose to use some data other than that. Some people used benchmarks, or if you're in a private school, you may have used some other piece of information. But if you don't have EVOS data, you need to be able to prove you don't have it and substitute whatever it is that you do use in your school to determine progress in the school improvement plan. And I think every school in the nation has a school improvement plan because they want one to be able to get money. you have to be able to tell people what you're going to do in order to get money. Yeah. And then you're going to set appropriate academic goals and expectations to assure each student, at a minimum, meets or exceeds expected growth. The school and data project will be the foundation of the school improvement action plan. So that means that this first task is what you're going to be bouncing everything else off of. Why do we want to improve the climate of our school? To improve student learning. Why do we want to coordinate with parents and the community? For the same reason. Why do we want a good schedule? Why do we want to adhere to the law? Why? All of that. The whole thing is targeting student achievement. So, it's really important that this piece be done well. It's like so many of our projects, if you do the first one well, you're on the road to success because the rest of it follows suit. Okay, so the first thing that's listed here is something that I didn't read anything about, but we start our evidences with background information and a description of the setting. Now, your outline says go to skip task 1, prompt 1. What do you think that's about? Do you remember the skip? It said that you needed to conduct a needs assessment about the gap in communication between school and parents. Remember that? Okay. Well, I'm not going to read that whole descriptor, but one of the things it says, the very first thing it says, do a full background description of the setting, both external and internal. And then it says, make a clear statement of the purpose, tell the participants, analyze the data, do recommendations. Do you think you're going to put all of that in where it says background information and description of setting? No. So please don't cut and paste. Just because it says skip 1, task 1, don't cut everything that you put under skip 1, task 1 in this paper, or it will come back to you because they don't want to see all that. They just want to see what they ask. And they
Tell me, where does it say skip 1, task 1? I'm not sure if I'm looking at the right thing.
Okay, this document, it looks like, oh, I turned it the wrong way. I turned it over. It says that it's the evidence 6 overview in your Blackboard. Have you pulled that? Have you seen it?
Is that in your shell?
It's in my shell, and it's in Dr. Zayon's or Dr. Whitaker's. Okay, it says Carrie is telling everyone that it's in the shell. You've used it. Okay, did you find it?
It was in the template. It's the
left
template.
side. Carrie, you're muted.
I think it's even listed over on the side as the template.
Yeah.
On that left-hand side, it says, I think SIAP template. Is that right, Eleanor?
Yeah, you got to click on the templates and it's there. Yeah, I found it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so under it says background information and description of the setting, and in red it says that you use the skip task 1, prompt 1. But I want to make sure everybody realizes That does not mean cut and paste the whole thing. It's only pulling the information that you need from that, okay? So, and the reason he chose that one is because that's the place where it said to do a full background with external and internal. And of course, that's what you were looking at. You were looking at internal and external communication. So it was obvious you wanted to have both of those looked at. So you're going to do an extensive background information. Now, in each of these projects, you've done a background information. So when you get to some other place on down the road here, and it says, you know, do this, and the background is in there, well, you don't put the background again, because this is one project, and this is the background for this entire project. You're not going to put the background in again. This is not a matter of how many pages we have. It's content density that we're after. So that's what we're doing there. Okay, any questions about skip one, prompt one? Okay.
So we are supposed to include the internal and external stakeholders, though, right, in the background piece?
Well, you would be talking about the internal and external, about your community. The background of your community is, you know, the external part. What's the socioeconomic level? What are the industries? And I think it says actually, if you go back to that, it says, you know, do some data searches, Google websites, you know, go to places, your local governmental units have some information on that. Some of you just did marvelous research on your school to decide, you know, is it Title I, you know, all of that. And then inside the school, what is it like? You know, do you have 139 students, or do you have 3,452 students? And, you know, do you have 9 teachers, or do you have 130 teachers? You know, these are things that are sort of important. So internal, external description of your school. Okay, so now that is really not getting to the prompt yet. That is just a statement that says, make sure you do a background information piece to start. Okay, the prompt says, the candidate will lead a professional team of educators in an analysis of the school data that will help the team formulate a clear image of the school's academic accomplishments and opportunities for growth. Remember, when you did your AFSL, you not only looked at what do we need to work on, you looked at what was really good. So you've got your opportunities, but you also want to talk about your strengths, because that's an important thing to think about when you talk about your school. A list of areas to be considered, but are not limited to, so you can do more: attendance, discipline, standardized tests, benchmarks. And the benchmarks are really an important piece here, because somewhere down the road it says multiple data sets. So if all you did was pull from one data set, you really haven't followed the rubric, because in some places it says multiple data sets. So that's a way for you to get that in there, is to do the benchmarks. And some of you have already done that. Some of those papers were marvelous. Okay, and that's where it says make sure you do the EBOS if you didn't have it. The school project will be the foundation, and we talked about that. And there's 3 key points that it says. It says the school data project should, and these are things that just overall you need to consider when you're writing or pulling this paper. Clearly convey leadership of a collaborative team in analysis of the school's academic standing, utilizing multiple data sources. That's one of the first requirements that it says after the prompt. The second, communicate findings to the school improvement team clearly and accurately. So it can't be general statements of we didn't do well or we did, poorly. It's got to be data. This whole project has to be data driven. And the third thing says, use subgroups to reflect on current status. And the other word for that is disaggregated groups, right? Disaggregated. You've got to do the subgroups. You can't just say, we did this poorly. Well, who was it that did it poorly? And you may find it's a small group, and I think you did. So that you can reflect the current status of the academic project progress and set appropriate goals and expectations, and I'm sure you did that, to assure that at a minimum you met or exceeded growth. Okay, that's the prompt. And under that, he has said you can use APSL tasks 1, 2, and 3. And again, it says be sure to add EVAS if it was not included in your analysis in the original APSL. Now, when you look through tasks 1, 2, and 3, are you going to do all that? Are you going to do the research piece and how you selected your, are you just going to go on and on about all of that? No, just pull out what you need in order to present the data. Now, since you're being collaborative, you do need to make sure that the reader understands that all of this was done in collaboration. So don't just mark out total pieces of this paper. It might really be good, don't you think, to go back and reread what you wrote based on what you read in the prompt. And then cut out what doesn't fit. Don't do wholesale cut and paste, but it should be, this whole SIAP should be data dense. And you should have narratives that support the decisions you make about that data. What do the data say? What does that mean for your school? What are you going to do about it? Okay, that continuous improvement process is what you're after. Okay, and I just listed all on my copy, I just went in and listed all the stuff that's there, and there is a plethora of information there that you can pull from. But you need to make sure that you only use what the prompt asks you to use. Okay? Questions about that prompt?
I have a question, Dr. Tillman.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in South Carolina, and I know a lot of us have continued to talk about the fact that we didn't have access to EVAS. And you said that if we don't have it, we need to prove it. What kind of proof do we need?
Well, just make a statement about
Make a statement. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think you probably did that in the APSL, didn't you?
Right. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
And just documenting what you do use. And
Okay.
I know at first some people were having some terrible times getting South Carolina to release the data to teachers. But I think some of that cleared up after a while, didn't it?
I was able to get data, but not from EVAS. I talked to everybody at my school, and they contacted people at the district, and it was just, I never got anything.
They weren't going to let you have it.
I guess that's what it was.
Yeah. Well, people in North Carolina just realized that in South Carolina, teachers are tested, but they don't get the data, which is really hard to understand. The data comes, but they interpret it at the central office and make decisions based on the data there, and so it doesn't come to the school. So, other questions? That's a good question. Any other question about
So under, Dr. Tillman, under where it's got the APSL tasks 1 through 3, where it says the OMA task 1 and 2 and CAP task 1 and 2, that's just suggestions if we feel like we need it.
We're not there yet. The suggestions for prompt 1 for task 1 is only the APSL 1, 2, and 3.
I mean, I guess
It's listed on here, OMA task 1, 2.
listed on the template under task 1.
When you get to,
It says OMA task 1 and 2, CAP task 1 and 2 may have some attendance and disciplinary data.
I guess what I'm trying to do is make sure that we'll go there, but that we have the APSL, the idea of what we're going to do with the APSL.
Okay.
Okay, now, the next thing he's listed, it says OMA task 1 and 2, CAP task 1 and 2 may have some attendance and disciplinary data. Okay, so what does that say you're going to pull from that? If you have anything in OMA that's related to something other than what you've already done in the APSL, you should pull it and put it in there.
Just the extra. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's not really extra. It's stuff that you must have thought was interesting for your school. And a lot of you did that in the CAP. I saw some people pulling that out because people all along were saying, when can I do discipline? I want to deal with discipline. Discipline's a problem. And so when you finally got to the CAP, you could do some discipline. That worked out fine for you there. So he's just saying that at this point, it did say discipline, and some people didn't do that in the APSL. So if you didn't, you can do it there. But, you know, I listed all the stuff on my copy about, it's a whole page about what you did on the OMA and the CAP. That's additional. But just getting additional information out of those documents. And that means if you go back and read those documents, you may go, oh, that would have been good to put in. So you pull just that piece and add it. Okay. So other questions about what you might use from the OMA or the CAP?
Dr. Tillman, I'm thinking, and I don't have it in front of me, but I put it in the discussion chat. I'm thinking I use the ESSA report in the APSL because it disaggregates subgroups for you and then has that trajectory for closing the achievement gap. Would that be another good data source?
You could add that, yeah.
Okay.
And like in task 1 of the OMA, it says analyze the school context. And, you know, we talked about the background there before you even started. Well, there may be some things that you found when you analyze the internal district, state, federal, legal stuff. There may be something that you want to talk about. If you were down in Leandro territory, you might have found that your school system was involved in a Supreme Court decision in the state, and you may want to include that. I mean, that's an important piece for you that you may not have discovered when you wrote that background. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. As you go through these pieces, you gained information that you might have said, I wish I had had that when I was doing this other piece over here. So as I look at this, most of that was in the budget process. There was, I don't think there's a whole lot in there that would help you. And in each one of these cases, it says a background description of the setting. So if you know that later on you really did a better description, then use that. But he's suggesting that you use the one where it said do a deep, research one. So just do the best one that you can. I mean, that's the bottom line. Okay. Any questions now about that prompt and using either the APSL or the OMA or the CAP? Because before we meet again, some of you are going to be doing this. In fact, I know one of you is already doing this. Okay, so questions. We got it, right? I don't want anybody to have to go back and do this thing over. There's just no reason. And I pulled the description. You've got a good description. You've got the rubric to make sure you can look through that. Just make your headings. I would think that the overview that I gave you, if you slapped on top of it the background overview, those are the main headings. And then under that are the headings within each of those tasks. You want that evaluator to pick it up and just keep flipping through your pages and see how it rolls, Yeah. All right, task 2. And task 2 looks short. Task 2, the description says, on the surface, this task may seem repetitive, but it is not. The OMA, SIAP, and CAP contributed to the foundation required to complete this task in an informed, professional manner, but it is essentially the final layer of the analysis that is essential at arriving at the appropriate conclusions before attempting to change the school's most significant plan, the school improvement plan. And that is really important. You don't want to go tinkering with things until you're sure of where you are and that the change is going to lead you in a better direction. The key to this assignment is not locating and analyzing the data. It is forming a display that contributes to the communication of these findings to the team that creates the school improvement plan. In other words, you can know a lot, and all of you do know a lot. You know how to make change, but until you can put it into language and into slides and into handouts and into verbiage that teachers can understand and follow, you are not leading anyone. You've got to get things to the level and make sure that they're the right things so that when your teachers absorb the direction you're trying to get them to go in and they buy into it, you're getting to buy into the right thing, because teachers are really burned out about going in this direction and then making a 180-degree change and going in that direction just because a new administrator came and the flavor of the month or the year is some new program that they saw at a conference, and the guy took them out to have a glass of wine or dinner, and they are just convinced it's the thing they need to do. That's not the way to run a school. You just can't do that. It's got to be data driven, and I truly believe that it works. When you get teachers to get in there and dig in that data, and they confront themselves with their own data, you might be ready to make a change. The data will tell it. It's not I believe, it's not we think, it's the data say. So that's where we're after it. Again, the task requires leadership of a team, and we're emphasizing collaboration, team, and focuses on the creation of a visual display and how that display will aid in communication. It is suggested that the required video features sharing the findings with the team, an administrator, or some other person or group that is interested. That experience should provide insight into the reflection that is required. Now, I think everyone in my team did a video of their presentation of the APSL to the administration. Is there anybody that's here that didn't present? Okay, so I think everybody did that.
I presented it, but there wasn't a video.
No video. Well,
We
at
did.
some place later on, did you present information to the?
I mean, I've presented information multiple times, but was never told to do a video.
I think we were kind of reminded.
You just
I'm sorry. That we were reminded that the video was.
I'm not sure who I'm talking with. Who?
You said you're not sure who you're talking with?
Yes, I don't see you on the screen.
Can anybody else see me?
Yeah.
Well. Oh, well, there we go. If I click back to the gallery, I was on speaker view, and for some reason it didn't let me have all the people that are available.
I'm just agreeing with Eleanor. Same as Eleanor, I presented several times, but I don't have a video. So if that's a suggestion, or if it's only a suggestion, will we lose points for not having a video?
I'm not into points. I would say that at the end of this project, it says you need to present this information to the administration. So just make sure you do the video then. So you'll have a video of your presentation. So does that help?
How long should the video be? I mean, are we presenting?
How long does it take you to present it?
I guess my question is, are we recording the entire presentation?
Okay, I think what most people did, they recorded it, and then they did maybe a 3, 5, 7 minute clip. You want to talk about that group? That would be really helpful. What did you do?
I did a video for the APSL at the beginning, and I just submitted then like a 3-minute clip of the presentation. It wasn't the entire thing. It was just maybe 3 minutes of it.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's what I was asking.
Yeah, because if you did the whole presentation and the presentation was a half hour, that is a lot of digital space. But if you just do, a 3, 5, 6, 7 minute clip, you can see the presentation. You've documented that you did it, and that's the main thing. And the idea about points, Ms. Holland, I really don't do points, and the evaluators, I don't think they really do points either as far as when they're scoring. When I was evaluating, I didn't. It was the pieces, and you can leave out one piece and it's not a bad thing. You can leave out some pieces and the whole thing is gone. You got to do it over. So that was not to say the points aren't important, but for me, I'm so glad this is pass fail because I get to help people and I don't have to take off points when they you don't understand or you need help. I enjoy that side of this job. So other people.
So Dr. Tillman, are you saying that if we did video already, like with the APSL, that we can use that video clip, or do we need to redo it at the end?
You'll need to do
okay.
it at the end, but I'm just saying if you don't have one, then at least the one at the end will document A lot of it is, do you know how to do a video? Do you know how to do a video clip? Can we see that you did the presentation? How do you present? You know, there's a lot in a video clip that you can see. And some of you are actually going to be taking those, you know, your work with you. And if you're if you're applying for a job, say out of town, you can send them some of these pieces of work. And if you have a really good video of you presenting a school improvement plan revision, that'd be pretty impressive if it's well done. Okay. So, you know, people are doing it for different things. Some people are doing it just to get it done, and some people are doing it with an idea to do something different. And that's where the creativity comes in, and it's fine. Either way is fine. Okay. Okay, the video, any other questions about the video or any other comments about the video? Okay. The rest of this just says that experience, that is the video presentation, should provide insight into the reflection that is required. So that's task 2. And now the instructions are the same. Again, the instructions for task 2 are the same as the prompt. So you really, you can sort of be sure that you cut out things that are duplicates. The prompt says, the candidate will lead a team of professional educators to analyze the elements of the teacher working conditions survey. Now, when you did 5 sections of them, but there are other sections. So some of you did the discipline one, some of you did more than what was required. And I wouldn't cut that out. All that you did, I would include there. The candidate will create a visual display that identifies data sources and clearly identifies findings from each source. And the teacher working conditions survey includes, and here are those 3 things again, a visual display outlined in task 2 directions above, a video evidence that findings were presented to peers, and a reflection on the usefulness of the display related to student achievement. And he cites the CAP, task 1 through 4. And there again, we're not just going to cut and paste everything from 1 through 4. We're going to cut and paste the things that are applicable, and also the SIAP task 1 prompt 2. Okay, that's on that sheet. Now the CAP, there again, you've got the climate analysis, you've got the school environmental analysis, you've got the cultural analysis, you've got all of that. What you want to pull out is what you need in order to complete the prompt. Not everything. Don't cut and paste. Okay. So questions about that?
So the video would not be presenting the entire SIAP. It would just be this one task.
That just in this task right now. But in the end, when you do the final graphic organizer, remember that task 5 of this project, okay, there are 6 tasks that we're doing. When you get to task 5, it's just like what we've done before. You do task, task, task. Then you're going to do the graphic organizer, which is, the plan. What we've done up to this point are pieces of the plan. What we're going to be pulling together now is the entire plan. Okay. So when you talk about presenting to administration, we actually are talking about in task 5 of this evidence, you're going to present this new school improvement plan to that administrator. And that's what we're talking about. We should definitely video. Does that help, Ms. Lister?
So you're not going to turn in the video with the visual display just for task 2. You're going to then wait and it will be turned in at the end with everything?
Attached. You'll attach it. And you probably already have it, don't you?
No, ma'am, I never had a video.
You know, you didn't do the videos. Okay. If you did not, then it's fine. It's fine. You're going to be fine.
Okay, so I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Eleanor.
I was going to say, I can easily video this. I just, you know, when we turn in, I know typically, and I get that this is going to be one whole combined thing, but if task 2 is specifically saying video evidence that findings were presented to peers, I guess my question was, are we turning in like a 3-minute clip of the video we do for task 2, and then at the very end, there will be a video of the whole thing? Or is this just saying, hey, you're going to do, you know what I'm saying? Or is this just talking about you're going to do this later? Because it makes it look like this is specific for task 2.
This is specific for task 2.
Okay.
And I think most people, when they go back, they'll find they did a video. And if you did not, and you just can say that, that's fine. It's not going to make or break the situation, okay? Yeah.
Okay, so can I ask again then, and maybe, so I did a video in the APSL. So that video that I already did in the APSL can be used in task 2, but at the end, when I get to task 5, it's a video of the whole
It's your presentation. When you get task 5 done, you get that, you pull all of these action plans together and you have a new school improvement plan for your school. I started to say sit down, but you're not. You're going to stand up and present that information to your administrator for consideration in adjusting the school improvement plan in your school.
Okay.
So that is a new video. This
Gotcha.
video that's in here, probably you've already done.
Got it. I think I understand now. So it really is 2 videos. It's one that maybe we've already done that we can use for task 2, but the very end in task 5 would be a brand new video of us presenting this whole action plan.
There must be, in
Okay.
task 5, you must present this final document to the administration and you must get feedback.
So just, and I know I'm kind of asking this question just on the side because I don't have a video with the APSL, but task 2 doesn't have anything to do with the APSL. Task 2 is pulling out of the CAP and the SIAP. So would it matter that the video is connected to the APSL?
Oh, I just realized what you said. That's right. When you go back, you probably will find that you did a video. If you did not, I wouldn't try to make one. I would just not go there.
No, I understand. I'm just, because Carrie was talking about she had a video for the APSL.
Yeah.
But task 2 has nothing to do with the APSL.
Right. That was my brain freeze. Sorry.
Oh.
So I am not able to use the video that I did.
Well, if you did it in a different setting, you know, if it's not related to the task at hand, the whole idea would be that you would, the teacher working conditions, let me find where it says it again. That's the visual display up here. It is. It is suggested, notice it says suggested, that the video feature sharing the findings with the team, an administrator or some other group who might have interest. So if you didn't make the video at that time, you know, school is out. You can't possibly be expected to do that. So I would just say that is fine. And if somebody fusses, I'll say I said it was fine. Okay? Okay. But everybody understands that at the end, in task 5, once you get all of these documents pulled together, you will do a video then of you presenting this information to an administrator. It doesn't say the principal. It says in the rubric administrator. It can't be another teacher. It needs to be an administrator. And get feedback from them.
Dr. Tillman?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can.
Sorry, I'm traveling.
You're in your car. You're a good girl. You're wearing your seatbelt.
Just for me listening, I know 5 for the video, we're pulling all of our action plans from all the evidences that we've done so far. Now, when we present our video, does it all have to be in one action plan, or do we present it as we were going along, if that makes sense?
Oh, in the end, it's going to be one action plan. It's going to be a new school improvement plan at the end. And so you are presenting your recommendations for adjusting the school improvement plan and getting feedback from the administrator.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I hope that was helpful. Okay. Other questions? Okay. I'm hoping that I will be getting a few more CAP 3s. I have about half of them, and they're looking pretty good. So make sure you try to get those in so that we can get that out of the way so you can get started on this final journey. Okay. Any last questions before we close? Let's see. Ms. Holland, did you want to stay? Okay, yes.
Yep.
Okay. And so,
Dr. Tillman, when is the first SIAP 1 first task due for the SIAP?
okay, let me look up here on my little sheet here.
I think tasks 1 and 2 are due together.
It's, well, they're listed together for us, but the, according to the list I had, June 16th, SIAP 1 is due to the review box. And then on the 23rd, the 2 is due. And the problem is that if we don't do it that way, your professors are, you know, you're not having class the week of July 4th. And so they want 3 and 4 in the Dropbox for review at the end of that. So we were doing 1 and 2 review today. Next week we'll review 3 and 4. But 1 and 2 have to be turned in before the holiday. And then during the holiday, they want 3 and 4. So I'm not sure if you understand, my schedule is driven by your 605 schedule. If they say, for example, what I have is a schedule that looks like this, that says, here's what they want, and here's when I've got to have it.
Hey, Dr. Tillman.
Yes.
I was just looking on Blackboard, on Dr. Whitaker's Blackboard. She's got SIAP task 1 due the 23rd, and SIAP Task 2 due the 30th.
Well, what they gave to me,
Because this coming, I guess Sunday or Monday is task 4 for
Right.
what we're currently working on. Yeah.
All right.
So
according to what they told me was that the CAP Task 4 was due the week of June 9th, which means it's due by the following Sunday. I think that's.
I just looked in Dr. Z's page, and ours is due session 5 the week of June 17th. It says SIAP 1, SIAP Task 1,
Yes.
Road in Blackboard.
Okay.
So that would make it due the 23rd.
Well, it's the week of, yeah. I put it the week of because we have to discuss it before it's due, right?
Right, right.
Or there's no use for us to discuss it. So I was doing 1 and 2 tonight. So
Uh-huh.
we'll do 3 and 4 next week. The following week you don't have class, and during that week you've got to have 3 and 4 turned in according to what they told me.
Well, I think we meet 2 more times, Dr. Tillman, before the week off.
Yeah. Well, we meet today, and then, but I have to do 5 and 6 on
the 26th.
on the 23rd, because 5 and 6 are due immediately after the break.
Okay.
Unless you want to meet the week. I figured I couldn't get anybody that would want to meet during the week of your classes not meeting with your professor. And so if we're going to talk about 5 and 6 at all, it's got to be next, the week before the 4th.
Right, on the 26th, right? Will that be on the 26th?
That will be on the 26th, yeah.
Okay.
Now, when is everything due? You said it's like mid-July, but what was the exact date?
When you say everything, what do you mean?
Well, they want everything in so they can get grades.
July 29th is what Dr. Lamb said.
The absolute
talking
final
about-
day, yeah.
Are you talking about for the SIAP?
Yeah, everything. The competency folio, so we can get a grade.
Well,
Like he even said July 15th.
28th, everything.
That's what I was thinking. I thought mid-July something.
It was mid-July.
But you've got a lot to do before then.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I was just wondering, what's the last date?
And as I said, they gave me the dates that they wanted it in their box.
Okay.
And so in order for me to get it discussed and hopefully be able to give any assistance, my schedule has to be driven by their schedule. So I back it up so that we can discuss. I don't know any other way to handle that.
Yeah. So bottom line, SIAP 1 is due this Sunday. Is that correct?
According to what I have, it's due the week of the 16th, which would make it, I think they just want it the day before they have class, right? As long as you get it in Sunday night, they consider it as being on time.
I'm just asking, I don't feel like that's correct because we just finished up task 3. So like task 3 was due, I have Dr. Whitaker. So task 3 was due by midnight on Monday. So we should be working on task 4, which would be due by midnight on Monday, the 17th.
Well, see, that's not the schedule I have. I have 2 classes and I have to, I don't know how that's working out because according to the schedule I have, task 4 is due week 4.
Which is right now.
3 is due week 2.
So we're currently in week 4. Is
We
that
are
right?
in week 4, and according to what they told me, week 4, the requirement is task 4, which means last week task 3 was due, and I got task 3s from some people. So,
Right. Task 4 is due this week.
yes. Well,
So
As in this week,
As in-
Sunday. Sunday or Monday?
Yes.
Right, okay.
And as I said, I don't drive the schedule, but I really, that's why I can't put out my schedule at the beginning of the semester until I hear what they have and then draw my schedule up based on their schedule. That's why everything goes in there. All the resources and things go in to the 605 so that you have immediate access to them no matter what day things are due. So am I hearing that the classes are not in sync? They meet together, so I don't understand how they can't be in sync since you meet together.
No, I think we're all saying the same thing, just not saying it the same way.
Okay.
Session 5s, or the week, Zoom session 5 week starts Monday the 17th. That week is when our SIAP task 1 is due, which means it has to be in by Sunday the 23rd.
That's the way Dr. Z explained our classes, like what's on that week on the schedule is due by that Sunday.
That next
Yes.
Sunday. Yes. Okay. So, well, and
Has
that's,
anyone turned in task 4?
yes. I
Okay.
have people who have finished. They're working on the SIAP. That's why I need to be talking about it. Okay. And I need to be talking about it because we have this week to talk about 1 and 2. We have the next week to talk about 3 and 4. We have the next week to talk about 5 and 6. Then you have a week break, and during the week break, you have to have 3 and 4 turned in, and immediately after the break, you have to have 4 and 5 turned in. So I know it's breakneck speed, but but that's what we have to schedule around. So that's why I don't.
But no, your plans for your students, you're right.
What now, Ms. Lister? I didn't hear you.
I said what you have planned for like tonight, next Wednesday, and the next Wednesday fit. You're right in line.
Well, I wasn't sure from what I was hearing, but that's I based it on what I thought you had to have turned in. Okay, so I think we are ready to close this down. I meant to be less than an hour, but is there any other chat questions? When is this due? So again, when is it due?
Task 1 is due the 23rd, by the 23rd.
Everybody is agreeing on the 23rd. Okay. Could it be a register? No, I see. All right. I'll turn off our recording and I'll be looking for task 3s and 4s. See them soon. Bye-bye. Give me a call if you need anything.
Dr. Tillman, are we going to stay on?
Yes, we are, but I'm
Okay.
going to not record.